Hola, soy Jack Perkins. Sean bienvenidos a Biografía. Tengo un grato recuerdo cuando niño en Ohio, la noche del 48, cuando mi padre nos llevó a mi hermano y a mí a la estación del tren a ver al presidente de los Estados Unidos que allí se presentaba. Y como no había televisión en esa época, o se iba a ver al presidente en persona o no se le veía. Así que fuimos. Era un hombre pequeño, con gafas de montura metálica, de pie en la plataforma trasera del tren, hablando y gesticulando con entusiasmo. Lo que estábamos viendo también, a pesar de no entenderlo, era un político audaz, tratando de lograr la mayor sorpresa política en la historia de Norteamérica. Harry Truman, niño granjero, soldado, vendedor, destacado político, y luego presidente y estadista. Demasiado para un solo hombre, pero no para este hombre.
En abril de 1945, la muerte de Franklin Delano Roosevelt enlutaba a la nación y un nuevo hombre estaba por entrar a la Casa Blanca.
I, Harry S. Truman, do solemnly swear.
He had integrity and intelligence, and people began to realize it. That he could make up his mind and stick with it.
Let there be no mistake. We shall completely destroy Japan's power to make war.
He was exactly the same person in public as he was in private. What you saw was what you got.
He said, I'm going to win. When I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to be president. And you can just believe that.
He is now considered one of the great presidents of the United States.
Give him hell, Harry. That's what they remember.
Harry Truman. ¿Cómo pudo Harry Truman, nativo del centro oeste del país, habiendo pasado más tiempo en una granja que en el Senado, terminar en la Casa Blanca? Esta historia comenzó en una pequeña granja en Lamar, Missouri, donde nació el 8 de mayo de 1884. Sus padres, John y Martha Ellen Truman, eran estrictos y prácticos. Su padre negociaba en ganado y le enseñó a su hijo el valor del trabajo duro y de la perseverancia. De su madre, que estudió arte y literatura en una universidad femenina bautista, Harry desarrolló su amor por los libros y la música. Desde el principio, Martha Ellen notó algo diferente en su hijo Harry, a quien vemos aquí con su hermano Vivian.
My grandmother thought it was rather strange when one 4th of July, he didn't react to the rockets and the things going off. So she took him to an eye doctor in Wichita, Kansas. It was the closest one. And he said, this boy needs glasses. He's very, very nearsighted. And from then on, he wore glasses.
El uso de gruesas gafas inmediatamente diferenció a Harry de los otros niños de su edad, y mientras ellos hacían deporte, él estudiaba piano y leía libros. Le fascinaba la historia y soñaba con ser un gran soldado como su héroe Andrew Jackson. Debido a su profesión, John Truman se mudó de granja en granja hasta que en 1890 se estableció con la familia en un pequeño pueblo de la frontera llamado Independence, Missouri. Aquí, Harry vio por primera vez a Bells Wallace, de 5 años, en la escuela dominical. Harry siempre dijo que fue amor a primera vista. Los Wallace eran la familia más pudiente de Independence. Y Bess, segura de sí misma y popular, era el ideal de Harry. En 1901 terminó la secundaria en la escuela local y en esta foto se le ve casi escondido en la última fila, aún muy tímido para sentarse al lado de Bess. Posteriormente, Harry trató de entrar en la escuela militar, pero no aprobó el examen. Y con la ruina de su padre, la universidad estaba descartada.
His father got into grain futures, which was not very smart of a man who, like John Truman, didn't have all that kind of money. Unfortunately, what money John Truman did have, he lost, and that meant that Harry had to go to work.
Harry trabajó 11 años en la granja de su abuela en Grandview, Missouri, pero nunca olvidó a Bess Wallace. En 1910, de visita en Independence, una tía le pidió que regresara un plato de vajilla a casa de los Wallace.
Bess answered the bell. There was that big, strong farmer looking at her, and I think he was looking at a very pretty young woman. And it was an instant sort of take.
Siguieron 9 años de noviazgo mientras Harry trataba de establecerse en algo que fuera del agrado de la madre de Bess. Pero, al igual que su padre, Harry no era bueno en negocios. Recordemos cuando con 2 socios invirtió en una compañía petrolera.
They had a lease over what later became known as the Teeter Pool, which was a marvelous pool of oil in Oklahoma. And they drove down their well. I think it was something like 1,200 feet. It was necessary to take the pipe down a little more. They didn't do it, and they narrowly missed becoming millionaires.
A los 33 años de edad, Harry pensaba que sería granjero para siempre y que nunca se casaría. Cuando de pronto, Estados Unidos entra en la Primera Guerra Mundial. Llegaba así su oportunidad de brillar como militar y, para pasar el examen médico, memorizó el gráfico de examen de vista. Al fin, ya en uniforme, pensando que era un adiós para siempre, Bess prometió casarse a su regreso. Ascendió rápidamente a capitán de artillería. Los chicos de la batería D eran un grupo duro que ahuyentaba a sus superiores. McKinley Wooden era el mecánico en jefe de esa unidad.
Harry come in, he was firm. He was hard-boiled and firm, but he was fair, see? When Harry addressed about it, why, he says, I didn't come over here to get along with you fellas. You're going to get along with me. Well, the boys come back in the tent there, and I says to an Irishman, I says, Mike, what do you think of the new captain? 90 days, 90 days.
Pero el capitán Harry, fuerte y decidido, duró más de 90 días y llevó a sus hombres a salvo a través de duras batallas.
World War I was undoubtedly the turning point in Truman's life. It was not merely going abroad, but it was the opportunity for leadership, perhaps that more than anything else. When he became a company commander, he was the boss, you might say, of almost 200 men. He had never had that experience before. And he carried it off wonderfully. And then the knowledge that he could do that, I think, ensured his future.
Harry Truman nunca dudó que Bess Wallace sería su esposa, y después de 29 años de conocerla, se casaron el 28 de junio de 1919 en la iglesia episcopal de Independence. Acabada la luna de miel, se mudaron a la casa de los Wallace, y después de 2 embarazos fallidos, en 1924 nació la única hija, Mary Margaret. Harry y un compañero de la guerra abrieron una tienda para caballeros en Kansas City que tuvo éxito durante un tiempo, pero sucumbió a raíz de la recesión de postguerra. Endeudado, Harry aceptó la oferta de Tom Pendergast, el jefe de Kansas City, para postularse como juez del condado.
Truman went into politics, I think we just simply have to say this, because he was a business failure. But the fact was, Truman had all of the qualities that were needed for a county judge in the rural and largely Protestant eastern part of Jackson County. He was a Baptist. He had lived in the county since he was born, and he was a candidate that the Catholic machine in Kansas City very much needed.
Con la poderosa maquinaria demócrata respaldándolo, Truman ganó la elección de 1923 con facilidad. Susan Gentry, una reportera del periódico local, lo recuerda.
When he used to come into the Examiner, I thought, now that's a nice man. He always walks so straightforward, and he always wore his hat. and he walked like he was going someplace, and he was, but we didn't know it.
Harry estaba destinado a cosas mayores. En 1934, con el apoyo de Pendergast, pasó de juez del condado a senador. Mantuvo un perfil bajo durante su primer periodo, votando por la línea del partido y respaldando la política del New Deal de Roosevelt. Una vez más, el estallido de la guerra cambiaría su vida. A raíz del bombardeo japonés de Pearl Harbor, la producción estadounidense se aceleró. Truman organizó un comité del Senado para investigar despilfarro y corrupción en el programa de defensa. Este trabajo le ahorró a los contribuyentes cerca de $15,000 millones y el público comenzó a hablar de ese senador de Missouri. Los líderes demócratas, desencantados del vicepresidente Henry Wallace, convencieron a Roosevelt para aceptar a la nueva estrella como compañero de fórmula. Al principio Truman se opuso, pues tenía algo que ocultar.
Namely, that he put his wife on the payroll in 1941, and by 1944, in the time of the convention, Bess was drawing $4,500 a year, which was a high salary in those days. And in 1943, he put Mary Jane, his sister, on the payroll at $1,800 a year. Mary Jane did not even go to Washington until her brother was president in 1945.
Sus preocupaciones desaparecieron cuando Roosevelt expresó: díganle que debe decidir si quiere destrozar el Partido Demócrata en medio de una guerra y quizás perderla. Y así, Harry lo reconsideró. El 7 de noviembre de 1944, Roosevelt hizo historia como el único presidente electo para 4 periodos. Posó debidamente con su vicepresidente, pero mantuvo a Truman mal informado en política exterior y poco preparado para lo que siguió.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special news bulletin from CBS World News. A press association has just announced that President Roosevelt is dead.
My mother came around the corner from the bedroom in the apartment where she'd answered the phone, and she said, "The president's dead." She had tears in her eyes.
Con el país aún en guerra, Harry Truman asumió el mando.
I remember writing a headline, "We choke our sorrow to wish our Harry well." We figured that nothing too much bad could go on in Washington with Harry Truman running things.
I, Harry S. Truman, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office.
A los 60 años, tomando el juramento, se veía sorprendido y dijo a los reporteros: sentí que la luna, las estrellas y todos los planetas caían sobre mí. La reacción del país se resumía en la expresión de Bess. El nuevo presidente afrontaba desafíos enormes. Solo 3 meses después viajaba a Potsdam, Alemania, a su primera reunión cumbre con Churchill y Stalin. Era el 7 de julio de 1945. Alemania se había rendido, pero la lucha continuaba en el Pacífico. Entre quienes le acompañaban se encontraba George Elsie, joven militar que había servido bajo Roosevelt.
FDR had a tendency, particularly in his later years, to let matters drift and put off making decisions if he could put them off. That was not Truman's method of operation then or at any time in his administration. He wanted to make a decision, get on with the next subject, and that was the way he handled himself at Potsdam.
El primer punto de su agenda era lograr lo que Roosevelt no había podido acabar: lograr finalmente que Stalin enviara tropas rusas a pelear en el Pacífico.
He was very relieved and very pleased when Stalin did assure him that they would come in within 3 months after the Germans surrendered.
Durante las reuniones, Truman recibió el mensaje: el bebé ha nacido, lo que significaba que el arma secreta, la bomba atómica, se había probado con éxito en Nuevo México. Tras largas consideraciones, Truman tomó una de las decisiones más duras de cualquier presidente estadounidense. El 23 de julio, los aliados firmaron la Declaración de Potsdam, advirtiendo a los japoneses rendirse o enfrentar una destrucción rápida y total. Para el 6 de agosto quedaba claro que los japoneses habían rechazado el ultimátum.
A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima and destroyed its usefulness to the enemy. It is an atomic bomb. It is a harnessing of the basic power of the universe.
Días más tarde, otra bomba explotó sobre Nagasaki.
Truman was very sensitive to what it meant to dropping a weapon like this, a new weapon, on civilians. He said in cabinet not long afterward that he didn't want to do that again.
I don't think Truman worried about dropping the bomb. He realized what a horrible weapon it was. But the point was, it stopped the war.
I have received this afternoon a message from the Japanese government in reply to the message forwarded to that government by the Secretary of State on August 11th. I deem this reply a full acceptance of the Potsdam Declaration, which specifies the unconditional Japan.
The atom bomb, he did not lose any sleep over that because he knew that he had saved hundreds of thousands of American soldiers' lives. And I have many men, not so many now because they're getting a little bit old, they used to come up to me and say, you know, your father saved my life by dropping the bomb.
Durante los primeros días alegres de la postguerra, el público tuvo oportunidad de conocer a su presidente. A diferencia de Roosevelt, cuya salud había declinado, Truman se veía vigoroso. Se levantaba a las 5:30 cada día, desayunaba y salía a sus famosas caminatas al trote diciendo a los reporteros, síganme y los haré hombres. No le importaba que lo fotografiaran vistiendo sombreros cómicos o camisas estridentes. Le encantaba llevar el yate presidencial a Cayo Hueso, Florida, donde nadaba, pescaba y, lo mejor, jugaba al póker con los chicos. Clark Clifford recuerda un juego en que Fred Vinson, juez de la Corte Suprema, se volvió demasiado amistoso.
The rule was you never called the president anything but Mr. President. Vinson said to President Truman, who was dealing, he said, hit me. The president flipped off the towel. I can see it coming out. It was the Queen of Spades. It destroyed his hand. And Vinson, without thinking, it just burst from him with him. He said, why, you S.O.B. The president said, what?
Pero Truman también recibió críticas por su lenguaje colorido.
They thought he cussed a lot, which he certainly did not. He knew how from the war, but I never heard him use a cuss word in my life.
Susana Gentry pensaba lo mismo hasta que le preguntó a un compañero.
I said, I never heard him cuss. He said, of course you didn't. You're a lady. But he said, he sure could cuss.
A Harry le gustaba aparecer en público, pero para su esposa era una tragedia, como lo recuerda su secretaria personal, Rita Odom.
One of the press girls called, and she said, what is Miss Truman wearing tonight? And I turned around and I said, what are you wearing to the reception tonight? She said, tell them it's none of their damn business. And I said, oh, she hasn't made up her mind yet.
Después de aparecer en este noticiario, Bess trató de aislarse aún más. Mientras los Truman se ajustaban a las exigencias de la prensa, el país encaraba la economía de la paz. 1946 fue un año de inflación y disputas laborales que culminaron con una huelga nacional del sindicato de ferroviarios.
It was the worst possible event that could take place insofar as our economic recovery was concerned. The president went up to the Hill and made a speech to the joint session of Congress saying that if they struck, he was going to use every governmental weapon that he had to force them not to strike at that particular time.
I request the Congress immediately to authorize the President to draft into the armed forces of the United States all workers who are on strike against their government.
Halfway through that speech, his labor advisor sent a note in.
Word has just been received that the rail strike has been settled on terms proposed by the President.
Aun cuando hizo que los sindicatos se retractaran, su posición de fuerza no le ganó amigos. Y en la siguiente elección, los demócratas perdieron control de ambas cámaras del Congreso.
It was a very serious setback to President Truman. Many people regarded him as sort of a temporary expedient anyway. And then to have the populace vote against him in the off-term elections diminished his standing with the country.
Un hombre que siempre decía, si no soportas el calor, sal de la cocina, volvió al Congreso en 1947, esta vez solicitando apoyo para Grecia y Turquía, países libres amenazados por una invasión comunista.
Should we fail to aid Greece and Turkey in this fateful hour, the effect will be far-reaching to the west as well as to the east. We must take immediate and resolute action.
Este fue el principio de la doctrina Truman, piedra angular de la política exterior de Estados Unidos en la lucha contra el comunismo. Fue uno de los últimos programas para el que el presidente logró aprobación del Congreso sin ayuda. Cuando él y George Marshall presentaron un programa de ayuda aún más amplio, Truman dejó que su secretario de Estado hablara.
Whether we like it or not, we find ourselves, our nation, in a world position of vast responsibility. We can act for our own good by acting for the world's good.
En abril de 1948, el Programa de Recuperación Europea, mejor conocido como el Plan Marshall, fue aprobado por mayoría.
General Marshall was very much against calling it the Marshall Plan. But my father said if you don't call it the Marshall Plan, it'll never get through Congress. So even though it was mostly my father's, it's called the Marshall Plan. And yet General Marshall had tremendous input into it.
It's sometimes been said that Truman saved the world from communism through the Truman Doctrine and the Marshall Plan. What these great measures did was to inform the Soviets that they were going to have some opponents, some opposition. And what these measures did, I think, was to save Western Europe, which might have collapsed into communism.
En junio de 1948, los soviéticos repentinamente bloquearon Berlín Occidental, cortando los suministros de comida y combustible. Truman ordenó un puente aéreo que evitó el uso de la fuerza y quizás otra guerra. Durante un año, las 24 horas del día, Estados Unidos transportó más de 4.000 toneladas de suministros al día a Berlín hasta obligar a los soviéticos a levantar el bloqueo.
These momentous programs constituted what became really known as the Truman foreign policy, the policy of containment. And each successive administration followed it. And finally, by 1989, it bore the ultimate fruit. Communism began to disintegrate, and the Soviet Union was no more. This is the great debt that the United States and the rest of the world owe to Harry Truman.
Truman pide igualdad para todos los estadounidenses. Harry Truman, hijo de confederados, sorprendió a muchos por su respaldo a los derechos civiles y el 29 de junio del 47 fue el primer presidente en dirigirse a la Asociación Nacional para el Avance de las Personas de Color.
There is no justifiable reason for discrimination because of ancestry or religion or race or color.
Y en 1948, en la Convención Demócrata de Filadelfia, insistió en incluir los derechos civiles y causó la estampida de 35 delegados sureños. Mientras los ánimos ardían, se hablaba de nominar al general Eisenhower como candidato. Finalmente, en la madrugada, Truman y el candidato Alvin Barkley obtenían la victoria. Mientras, la convención republicana respaldaba plenamente a Thomas Dewey para gobernador.
I pledge to you that on next January 20, there will begin in Washington the biggest unraveling, unsnarling, untangling operation in our nation's history.
Con las encuestas en contra por 20-1, Harry Truman empezó su gira nacional en la que recorrió 22,000 millas. Un miembro de su equipo filmó el recorrido. En cada pequeño pueblo o parada de tren, Truman se detenía a hablar con la gente. A pesar de la cálida acogida del público, los diarios no le daban oportunidad. Pero como era típico en él, el desafío lo hacía trabajar con más ahínco.
Rates of inflation are continuing to grow. The cost of living is continuing to rise. I've been urging price control because it is a realistic way, a tested way of holding down the cost of living.
Al principio, los reporteros afirmaban que sus discursos eran ensayados, así que su equipo le sugirió que improvisara.
It was much better to let him relax and let Harry Truman be Harry Truman. And the whistle stop epitomized Truman in his direct, colloquial style, wanting to reach out and speak directly to communicate with his audience in his manner so that they could understand who he was.
This Republican Congress has already stuck a pitchfork in the farmer's back. Now, my friends, the record of that 80th Congress is a sad tale of the sellout of the people's interest. The Republican Congress asking for big business has already begun its attack to break the strength of labor unions.
Atacó sin cesar al Congreso republicano y en Seattle, cuando escuchó "Dales duro, Harry", contestó: "No ataqué a nadie, solo dije la verdad sobre los republicanos y ellos vieron al diablo". Esta frase, así como la presentación de su familia, se hicieron famosas.
I'd like very much to introduce to you the First Lady. This is Margaret.
I enjoyed coming out and waving at people. I used to worry sometimes when they crowded so very close to the back of the train. Of course, that car of ours, the Ferdinand Magellan, weighed 14 tons. It weighed as much as the engines up front. And one time we were going across Colorado, the engineer was trying to make up time. And I saw my father look up like this. He was looking at the speedometer. And I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "He's going much too fast." He said, "Get up and go and tell somebody that even if we're late, I want him to slow down." If he had had to slam on the brakes for anything, the whole train would have been telescoped.
El gobernador Dewey y su señora viajaban en tren, el Victoria Especial, más cómodo y con menos prisa. Dewey, muy confiado, hacía campaña como si ya hubiera ganado, diciendo, lo único que tengo que hacer es no volcar el bote.
Dewey, it turned out, was an appallingly bad campaigner. He couldn't give a speech, and the result was a very wooden campaign on his part.
Entre tanto, la campaña de Truman se fortalecía.
The crowds got larger, whereas we would expect 500, we'd have 2,000. If we expected 2,000, we'd have 5,000 or 6,000. Something was going on. We began to get a lift. President Truman began to get a lift from it. I remember thinking one time, my God, if we had a little more time, this could be the upset of the century.
Al llegar a Minnesota, el optimismo de Truman era contagioso.
He said, Elsie, take a pad and let me go through the states. And he began Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, dictating each of the then 48 states with the electoral votes for each state. So I toted them up in columns. And he predicted his own victory by a very substantial margin. I thought, well, if he has that conviction, then I, too, will believe he's going to win.
Día de elecciones, 1948. Los expertos ven a Dewey como ganador absoluto, pero el comentarista Kaltenborn advierte.
No one knows, hours and hours after the polls had closed, who is to be the next president of the United States.
Harry Truman seguía el proceso estado por estado hasta que por la mañana se anunciaron los resultados. Había ganado. Era la mayor sorpresa política de la historia. En la cena de la victoria, ya presidente, describió su felicidad de esa noche.
About 12 o'clock, I happened to wake up for some reason, and the radio was turned on the National Broadcasting Company. And Mr. Kaltenborn and Mr. Harkness were reporting the situation as it then developed. And Mr. Kaltenborn was saying, well, the president is 1 million votes ahead in the popular vote. We have yet to hear. And we are very sure that when the country vote comes in, Mr. Truman will be defeated by an overwhelming majority. I went back to bed and went to sleep. Along about 10 o'clock, I got a telegram which said that the election was over and that I should be congratulated on the fact that I had won the election. And apparently it was too bad, but it happened.
Todos gustan de un ganador. Y durante un tiempo, Harry Truman lo fue. Periodistas y caricaturistas políticos gustaban de su estilo campechano del centro oeste. Fue un Truman más confiado el que tomó la presidencia el 20 de enero de 1949 y comenzó con planes para una alianza de 11 países no comunistas, la OTAN.
The The substance of NATO was that we would come to their assistance militarily. And it sent a message to Stalin which said, if you attack any one of the NATO countries, you're attacking the United States, and it means war.
Pero esta alianza occidental no impidió que la comunista Corea del Norte atacara el 24 de julio de 1950 a Corea del Sur. Truman se reunió con Dean Acheson, secretario de Estado, para tratar la escabrosa posibilidad de un nuevo envío de tropas estadounidenses a territorio extranjero.
We had to resist the North Korean incursion or run the risk of South Korea collapsing. Mainland China had already succumbed to communist control. It was a painful and bitter decision, but at the time it seemed no choice but to go in with troops.
En octubre, una fuerza militar de la ONU, comandada por el general Douglas MacArthur, había rescatado la capital surcoreana, y Truman viajó a la isla de Wake para delinear un plan estratégico. El presidente dejó claro que no quería otra guerra, y MacArthur aseguró que los chicos estarían en casa antes de Navidad. Pero MacArthur no pudo mantener la promesa, ya que el 24 de octubre China envió 300,000 soldados para reforzar a los norcoreanos. La lucha seguía y el general había ignorado la orden de suspender la guerra, exigiendo públicamente permiso para bombardear China, lo que obligó a Truman a dar un paso difícil.
MacArthur was actually directly insubordinate, and no president before or since could tolerate a commander in the field who violated orders from the commander-in-chief.
Truman despide a MacArthur.
A number of events have made it evident that General MacArthur did not agree with that policy. I have therefore considered it essential to relieve General MacArthur so that there would be no doubt or confusion as to the real purpose and aim of our policy.
MacArthur no aceptó su despido callado y fue recibido como héroe a su regreso, dándole un giro desastroso a la imagen de Truman. Con su popularidad en el nivel más bajo, el presidente pasó días negros y muy solitarios, ya que Bess estaba de viaje en Independence.
He'd come in and he'd say, "Is there any mail for me from Mrs. Truman?" He said, "I'm going to fire all of you if there isn't any." And we'd be so happy when we'd have a letter to give to him.
Best y Margaret lo eran todo para Harry. Cuando un crítico de música escribió un artículo desagradable sobre un recital de canto de Margaret, el presidente le escribió una carta prometiendo darle un puñetazo en la nariz. No muy presidencial, pero Margaret aún lo recuerda agradecida.
The man who wrote it was a frustrated baritone. And when Dad wrote the letter, I was glad that chivalry was not dead. As I was on tour, after I went on, it sold tickets.
Truman había decidido no presentarse en las elecciones de 1952. El país lo culpaba por la guerra de Corea y esperaba que otro presidente la terminara.
That job requires a personal trip to Korea. I shall go to Korea.
Eisenhower derrotó a Adlai Stevenson y Washington se volvía republicana. Truman se retiraba.
He would have lost to Eisenhower. Anyone would have lost to Eisenhower. And besides, he was tired. He had had enough. He was 68. It was time to leave.
We're back home now for good. I'm in the army of the unemployed now, although it's a very small army, and We do thank you immensely for this wonderful welcome. I don't see how anybody in the world could have a better one. Thank you very much.
De regreso en Independence, volvieron a su antigua casa.
I saw them mostly when they were in their late 70s and through their 80s. I have a mental picture of a very close couple, two people that did not have to say a whole lot to each other and were very comfortable with that. A look or a nod or a few words was all it took.
Dedicó la mayor parte de su retiro a crear la biblioteca Harry S. Truman. Allí, a unas cuadras de su casa de Independence, recibía visitantes distinguidos. Sus caminatas matutinas lo convirtieron en un personaje muy conocido en las calles del pueblo.
Everybody that had ever known him as a senator and as a schoolmate even wanted to speak to him, and he had time for everybody. And he just had a human touch.
El retiro de Truman fue feliz en la ciudad que amaba. En 1972, el día después de Navidad, a los 88 años, Harry Truman falleció. Durante los 8 años de presidencia, este hombre de Missouri mostró al mundo que podía tomar decisiones cruciales sin pestañear y afrontar el reto de la Guerra Fría. No obstante, cuando dejó su cargo, era uno de los presidentes menos populares en la historia. Solo recientemente su reputación ha mejorado.
In relation to his successors, Truman began to look better, and with the presidency of Richard M. Nixon, he looked awfully good. There is a statistic that shows what presidents rated at the time of their presidency and then how they improved later, and of all those presidents, Truman has had the largest increase in rating. He is now considered one of the great presidents of the United States.
The difficulties that confronted him would have swamped a lesser man. And through it all, he didn't change a whit. After 7 3/4 years in the presidency, he was the same simple fellow that had come into the presidency almost 8 years earlier.
When people come up to me on the street and talk to me about my grandfather, it's not, boy, I love that Marshall Plan, or gosh, you know, what a good bomb drop that was. What they say is, your grandfather was a great guy. He told it like it was. He was honest. He worked hard. Give him hell, Harry. That's what they remember.
As Mrs. Truman and I leave the White House, we have no regret. We feel we have done our best in the public service. I hope and believe we have contributed to the welfare of the nation and to the peace of the world. And now the time has come for me to say good night and God bless you.
En 1972 me asignaron la transmisión del funeral de Truman desde el campus de la biblioteca Truman en una tarde lluviosa. Se dijeron muchas cosas buenas sobre él ese día, probablemente más de las que escuchó durante todo su mandato. El país había comenzado a apreciarlo como político. La falta de sofisticación que lo caracterizó se vio como un gran detalle de naturalidad, su brusquedad como candidez y sus errores como decisiones. Y puede que sea la escasez de decisión, candidez y naturalidad en la vida pública actual lo que haga que recordemos con nostalgia a Harry Truman.